Message to the world from the Nut and Fancy Project. You do not have to upgrade pretty much ever. What you bought 10 years ago is probably just fine. Whether it's guns, knives, flashlights, watches, you don't have to upgrade. Don't listen to people that say, hey man, what you have now is inadequate. To be cool, to be up to speed, to be high speed, you have to sell that old crap you bought 5 years ago and get this new gun. This is what's really in. I say that with this tabletop review because I bet you there's some guys out there seeing this gun come out, a magazine-fed Mossberg 590, 10+1, and they go, oh my gosh, I'm selling my tube-fed Mossbergs, whether it's a 500, 590, maybe it's a Remington 870, and they're off to the races in the upgrade war, never finding nirvana in their systems. Don't do that. What I do in my project is I give you opinion, a lot of opinion, but it's based on data and a lot of shooting experience, a lot of systems experience. I'm pretty consistent with the way I do it, but I will throw strong opinions out there. I'm going to do it in this tabletop. I always do. That makes it more interesting and more useful and more grounded, but I'm never going to tell you what you have is inadequate. If you really want to become a better shooter, I'm not going to say, hey, you need to throw a red dot on your pistol to become a better shooter. What I'm going to tell you is you need to go practice more. You need to get your trigger controlled and your breathing down better. You need to dry fire more. Same could be said with a tube-fed pump action combat style of shotgun. Winchester 1300 here, 590M, model number 50205 right here. If you want to overcome its limitations, number one, I would say practice. And yes, it's a limitation. 7+1 like this gun, like the tube-fed version of the 500 or the 590, if memory serves. I think they also are 7+1. It's not a lot of rounds. Like I've said in a lot of my in-field shooting adventures with tube-fed shotguns, it takes practice and constant feeding that gun to overcome its rounds limitation. But you know what? You can do it. If you practice like the competitors do, you're going to get faster, you're going to get better. Will it ever approach the speed of a semi-automatic shotgun with a drum magazine? No. But in a large measure, you can overcome its limitations. So the first thing to do is just to practice. You don't have to upgrade at all. You don't have to go out and buy yourself a 590M. No. Now, I'm going to review this fairly. I'm going to tell you about all the positive things. I'm going to tell you about a negative thing that I found out according to my own data, my own shooting, and it is, it's important. It's kind of a red flag to me. You can decide for yourself if it is for you or not, and I'll show you the data. But if you want to use your tube-fed shotgun for the rest of eternity, I say rock on, you'll be happy with it. Now, I am open to innovation, totally. I've always been that way in TMP. So if I see something innovative, and this is innovative, it is. It's improving a system, I'm welcoming it. But at the same time, I'm not going to say, oh my gosh, this is obsolete. I'm not going to say that at all. And speaking of not being obsolete, and this is going to be the same opinion, speaking of strong opinions, that I threw out about a decade ago here in the project when I reviewed the 870, the 500, and 590 Mossbergs. I said at that time, and that was what, 10 years ago, but with now about 35 years of shooting experience, the best combat pump action shotgun still is the legacy Model 1300. This one right here on the table. I purchased it in 1996. Oh my gosh, is this the best shotgun ever or what? It is. And amazingly, I cannot believe it has not been superseded by another design. I'm even considering the 590, and I said that in the tabletop 10 years ago. I was like, hey, I like the 590. It's not nearly as smooth as this one, not nearly as fast. This one has a rotary bolt. It's super slick. I mean, watch this. I'm going to push the action button. Watch this, dude. Oh, that is how you do a pump action shotgun. Granted, I have some rounds through this, and I've seen 870s that will do this too. Not too many 500 or 590s do it. They just have a lot more resistance in the action bar, in the action. They need a lot of rounds to smooth up. I've said that, again, about a decade ago. But the Winchester 1300, and again, this is a legacy version, circa, I think around 96 is when I bought this one. I have two now. This Defender model, so it's a 7+1 cylinder bore, brass bead sight. I still have the old Insight. I think that's the M6 on there. I haven't swapped it out. This is actually a home defense shotgun. I've shown it before, talked about it before. I mean, if a bad guy breaks in the house, he's going to answer to this gun, depending on where he breaks in, because there's others strategically located. Sure enough, subscribe to my Twitter feed and you'll see what I mean. I've posted some pictures throughout the years of the Nut and Fancy missile silo defense system, so to speak. So 1996 era, I have a Turkey Special. It has a ventilated, I think it's a 20-inch barrel on that one. Oh, what a great gun. I have an extended magazine. That is like 9+1. I ran it in the Eat Lead drill. Oh my gosh, that is a sick gun. And it's got wind tough, camouflage, laminated stocks on it. Very collectible, that gun is. The Winchester Defender Turkey Special in that special edition stock. I actually had to order that back in the 90s from a gun store. I'm glad I did. So I have two Winchesters. And no, this is not a Winchester review, but we're going to do some comparison and contrast, and we're talking about how you do not have to upgrade, and that is really a case in point right there, isn't it? I still have my 1996 pump action tube fed shotgun, and I have no plans to change it. Let's consider philosophy of use, shall we? And a lot of guys get lost, okay? They always think it's about firepower. Now, I like firepower. I've talked about it in a lot of tabletop reviews, whether it's with a pistol, whether it's with a tactical carbine, an AK variant rifle, or a shotgun. Firepower is double thumbs up for me. I love it. However, if we're going to be realistic, in a home defense situation, do you really need 10+1?
A lot of power on those slides.
No. Do you really need 7+1? Probably not. Unless you're expecting some zombie hordes kicking down your door, then maybe. Then maybe you do need it. But for me, that's why in that philosophy of use, as a home defense gun, maybe a without rule of law home defense gun even, with my training and how I think I'm able to run the platform, I think 7+1 is okay, even with a tube-fed shotgun. And there's a lot of people that would agree with that. They're like, yeah, it's cool to have a magazine system, but simple is nice. Simple is nice. I don't have to, keep track of a magazine. It's more streamlined to store. I mean, when this thing's attached, that's a big, bulky platform. I mean, look at it. It's like a huge plan form, right? Right. So that's just an aside. You don't have to upgrade. Two feds, fine. This does have some advantages. No magazine to lose. No magazine to jam. We'll come back to that, right? Simple. KISS principle in action. Philosophy of use then for the 590M. Is it the best home defense gun you can get? I don't know about that. We're going to talk about how it's shot, and then again I'll get to that one point that I referenced earlier. I love 12 gauge shotguns for home defense. I think most y'all do. That's why you're watching this video. We love the 12 gauge because it has tremendous knockdown capability. It throws out a whole bunch of lead, a diverse range of loads. Bird shot within room distance is deadly. It's inexpensive to own. It's relatively inexpensive to practice with. It's really hard to beat close range. If we talk philosophy of use without rule of law, assuming this gun works 100%, I say yeah, totally. In layered application with a tactical carbine. And what I mean by that is, like, if you're in something like the riots back in the 90s in Los Angeles, South Central LA, and you had shop owners on top of their roofs defending their shops, so their place of business is not burnt down, that they're not personally attacked. They're basically defending life and property. A layered defense to me, and I have said this before, is I have some tac carbines, and I'm assuming a without rule of law situation, and then I'll have some close range weapons, shotguns. Maybe the 590M would be a good application of that, because it does have more firepower. It is and faster to reload, for sure. I give you all of that, but that would be an application. Truck gun, I'm thinking no on that, because with a magazine installed, like I said, it's big and bulky. It's better to have just a tube-fed shotgun, if you're going with a shotgun, I'm saying, because it's going to go into a case better, it's going to go into a rack better. Just ask a police cruiser that to this day are still running 870s out there. Some of them have, replaced it with an AR carbine style of rifle, and I think that's smart. But there's a lot of police cruisers, a lot of sheriff cruisers that are still running 870s. Heck, for that matter, 590s out there, because it's easy to store. With a magazine installed, not so much. Then you could say, well, just take the magazine out. But now you got to find a place for this. And you got to find a place to store it, right? Yes, and I said all of this, by the way, with the Adaptive Tactical Sidewinder system. The Venom was the name of one of their systems. I reviewed that about 5 years ago. And what that is an adaptation to an 870, 500, or 590 platform, if I'm remembering correctly, where it takes a box-fed magazine like this, and they had 5, 10, 15, 20 rounders for that. Actually, no, I'm sorry. They had a 10 and a 5-round stick mag, then a 10-round rotary drum is what the Adaptive Tactical had. And it would replace the whole front end on your pump action combat shotgun with kind of a bulky forend. I'll see if I can roll in some photos or videos of when we did that. And then your magazine feeds from that. So you're not really feeding from the receiver anymore. You're feeding up here with their replacement components. We found in the desert in our testing it worked pretty good. We liked it, and it was reliable, it reloaded quicker, all of the above, for sure. Another disadvantage is you buy a shotgun and now you got to go out and buy a magazine system, spending several $100s more on something you may or may not need for your particular POU. That's a disadvantage. Maybe another disadvantage with the Adaptive Tactical is that it is bulkier. I made mention of that. It does change the battery of arms. You do have like an upper rail here, I believe, on the sidewinder version of it. You may or may not like that. But there are also some advantages. One is that you can convert your shotgun back to its original tube-fed configuration. And then if you want to use the magazine system, you just put it on your shotgun. Maybe there is a situation where you do need a magazine-fed pump-action shotgun, depending on what's going on. Cool, and that's a big advantage if you can get a hold of it. But this one, the 590M, out of box, magazine ready, there's no going back to tube fed. It is what it is. This is inactive, this tube right here. This whole purpose is just for the forearm and the action bars. It's a magazine fed system. Philosophy of use. Recreation, maybe. I jumping ahead just a little bit to lift the cover up on what I'm alluding to is I didn't really have a super fun time shooting it.
Go slow.
There you go. I'm just being honest with you. It was okay. I mean, but there are some things that I'm going to talk about and how it shot that I just didn't dig it. I'd rather shoot this one. I mean, shooting the 1300 is like, it's like going to a really awesome baseball game with friends. It's a total party, man. I just love it. It's fun. I mean, you can go through, I can shuck like through 3 boxes of ammo. I don't care if you're talking buckshot, high base pheasant, slugs, whatever. I can go through rounds like crazy in this, and I'm just laughing the whole time. I'm just loving it. It shoots really fast.
You like that action?
Really fast.
Yeah. It's fast.
Philosophy of use, home defense, I mentioned that already. Without rule of law, I've alluded to that. We'll press on with features. Okay, dedicated magazine system for sure, and I guess I'll start there. I will say I'm pretty impressed with the magazine system that Mossberg has engineered for the 590M. It's well made. It's a very strong magazine body, a music wire spring, removable floor plate so you can clean it and service it if you get it wet or dirty or dropped it in salt water, which by the way is another philosophy of use, boat gun. Would I use this as a boat gun? No, probably not. To me, because it's just more complexity. I'd rather go with a tube fed, simple, easier to maintain. There, I said it. But the magazine is nice, and how it inserts is pretty excellent. I think they've done a great job milling in the receiving lugs, the guide lugs, I guess you could say, into the gun. So you're just going to hook it in the front, and look at that. Now, I haven't run the Adaptive Tactical system in a long time, but if memory serves, it's not that easy to put in. Not like that. And again, you're putting it up here. This is in a standard location right at the receiver, and the guide lugs in here are just outstanding. Here's your magazine release button, fully ambidextrous. Your retention paddle right here. You can see how that engages into the lugs. So it's a really well-engineered system. I can't really give any knocks at all to the insertion and the removal of the magazine. And so when Jardine and I were out there shooting it, we're like, man, that goes in pretty easy, man. And it did. So kudos to that. The rest is pretty much 590 standard, right? I did tell Jardine when we were shooting it, because the weight on this sucker is 7 pounds 11 ounces with a 590, which has a thicker gauge barrel on it, mil spec. I told him, I said, I really wish they would have used a 500 to do it, to have a lighter weight gun. The reason I believe they did not do that they went with a 590 platform instead, is because marketing. Guys like the 590. They like that it's a military adopted and used weapon. And I think a lot of dudes go, hey man, if it's good enough for the military, it's good enough for me. And they go for a 590 over a 500 all the time. Marketing. But by doing so, we're going to gain weight, and we do. I've said in other tabletop reviews, I actually like the 500 better than the 590, and I'll stick with that. I do. Anyways, that's just an aside. So you do have the heavier 590 platform. An interesting departure from the normal 590 is your bottom metal, your trigger guard and such, is made of polymer now, not metal, if you care. We still have the same aluminum receiver, not like a Remington 870, which is milled out steel. Do I care? Not really. I don't care what it's made of, just as long as it's not plastic. I don't want a plastic receiver. I don't care if this bottom portion, trigger guard and stuff, made of polymer. I never cared. I mean, this is made of polymer. The world's best combat shotgun is made of polymer. Right? It always has been from the 90s. I don't care. Fine by me. The trigger pulls at, I won't do it here, but it pulls at about 7 pounds. I wouldn't do anything to the trigger on the 590M, and it's just like all the other 590s and 500s for that matter that we've tested. It's good. Brakes clean enough. You know, it's a pump action shotgun. I'm not taking a 700-yard shot with a sucker. So I'm not really snobbish on a trigger pull with a pump action shotgun. It's fine. And then standard controls. So we have our action release back here on the 590M. Then we have our safety catch right here at the top of the receiver, which I don't mind at all with a conventional stock. I've always said this really sucks if you go with a pistol grip configuration, of which the 590 is sold with. So you can go to their website and you can buy, I don't know about a 590M maybe, but a regular 590 you can buy with a pistol grip, and guess what? Your safety button is still right there. And that's almost impossible to reach in a pistol grip configuration without transitioning your hand and pivoting. But with a standard stock, which I love, it works perfect. My 1300, best of all time, has a standard crossbolt safety in the forward portion of the trigger guard. Love that too. Kind of like the 870. 870 same way. The stock is standard polymer. We have a rubber butt pad, ventilated. No adjustments to length of pull in this particular version. They may configure it differently. Mossberg is known for that. So this is just one flavor. Again, 50205. So, you know, all types, different stocks, barrels, sighting systems on your 590M. It really depends on how it sells. And it depends on how it sells. That's that. And then we got twin action bars. Talked about the heavy gauge barrel. This is a cylinder bore, 18-inch, just over 18-inch, brass bead simplicity. And for those guys been in TMP for a while, what have I always said about that? Brass beads suck. I need ghost rings. No. Let's go back to my opening statement. You don't have to upgrade. I mean, even when I started TMP 10 years ago and everyone's just raving about ghost ring sights, like, oh man, it's the latest and greatest. You better send your 870 back and get a scattergun technology upgrade if you want to be cool and in the know. I always said brass beads work perfect as long as you have lighting. The only thing I'd say is that in low light, you might want to run a red dot. No, brass bead's fine. And I'm talking even out to 50 yards. You can shoot accurately with slugs with just a simple brass bead. I have demoed that a lot in the project before. I don't have a bayonet lug on this one. Standard steel cap, 590. And then we have our corncob forend right here, which actually dominates this one for traction. I need to do something with that 1300 forend because it's gotten slick over time as I've used it. That's what she said. And I'm going to put like a grip material on it, I think. I'll just order some from Brownells, and it's a synthetic suede. It'll look super sick when I do it, and it's very adhesive. This one you don't have to do anything to. Standard forend that we've been seeing forever. I like it that there's no interferences like on some forends, right? We've seen where we've had hunting forends extend down here. If they can't do it with this one because of the magazine system. But on some other hunting shotguns, you see it all the time. And then the standard action of a 590, I'm not taking it apart. You guys know how it runs. You can go look up my original 590 review. I think I did take it apart in that video. We talked about it in depth. And this, again, is just the same gun. It's just magazine fed. That takes us to how did it shoot? Well, again, I really like the smoothness of the insertion and extraction of the magazine. It works great. But one thing I found with the way I shoot or did shoot this shotgun is that I could get it to jam. Now, I'm in the habit of shooting a Winchester 1300. And with a Winchester 1300, you can rack really fast. And it's basically, the way I think about it, a pump-operated semi-automatic shotgun, the Winchester 1300.
I tried to run it
This one's fast and smooth. And so sometimes I'll apply that same style of shooting to another platform like the 590M, and it creates problems. And for me, the way I shot the gun, it created problems. What I found is I would rack the gun after shooting rapidly, and in doing so, it seemed to me that I would strip off or pop off the top of the magazine around, and it would cause a stoppage. Now, I was evaluating my techniques, like, well, am I short stroking this thing? And me and Jardine are talking about it, and he's like, no, dude, you're not short stroking it. I'm watching it. There's something weird going on. It's like when I would throw the slide back with a lot of authority, rounds would pop off the magazine. Does that mean we need more magazine tension in the mag? Perhaps. I don't know. I mean, this is just my technique. Now, Jardine would shoot it, and he has a different technique where he shoots much more methodically and slowly on his pump action shooting. So he hasn't shot a lot of shotgun, and he's being more purposeful in doing it. And I think he may have had one or two problems himself. But as the day went on, it was more reliable for him than it was for me. Then I would start shooting it again, and lo and behold, I had the same problems until I slowed it down. Once I made it a point to shuck the shells and work the action more slowly, it seemed like the problems went away. But to me, that is a red flag. Because I don't care how you shuck a pump action shotgun, you shouldn't jam. You want to throw the 4 in fast, rock on. You want to go slow, should work fine. And it seemed to me this particular version, I was able to induce stoppages with my own technique. So that is a red flag to me. Getting back to would I use it as a Marine shotgun? No. Home defense shotgun? Nope. You think I'm going to shuck the shells slower when I'm under stress in a home defense scenario?
I don't even know what's going on
No.
with that. So,
It's kind of like I have reviewed shotguns here before, and guys in the comments will say, well, you need to make sure it's not exposed to water and all these other ridiculous assumptions that you cannot ensure in the application of the firearm. You want worst case, Murphy's Law, idiot proof. Every gun has to be that way. And from what I've seen, I'm not sure, and this is just one data point, it's not the end all, I'm not sure that the magazine system to the 590M is there yet. Truth dart. Truth dart. Now, as far as the other stuff went, I didn't pattern it because I'm tired of blowing up my wood target stands. Every time I do that, I blow one in half, and now I have to spend hours recutting them and building them again, so I don't do that. Just go back to reference my original video, and you'll see how it patterns. It's a cylinder bore, no screw and choke systems, which I think is a little bit of a miss in 2018. We should have screw and choke systems for any defensive shotgun. Maybe they come out with them later. I don't know. But it patterns more accurately than you will need. And again, this is a close range gun, probably 25 yards or in, is what I think of a combat shotgun. Again, in a layered defensive approach, it's your close range, high knockdown power weapon. So, shot smooth when I was very slow, I shouldn't say very slow, but more methodical in running the action. There you have it. Magazine went in and out just fine. Loading the magazine, I didn't think was a total pain. It went relatively easy all the way up to 10 rounds. I think they're going to offer other capacities for the 590M as well. And that brings us to the point, would I buy it? I think you know the answer to that question, right? Yeah, I'm not going to buy the 590M. Not so much. Getting back to the Adaptive Tactical, still don't know if they're in business or not. The Venom system, I did like that one. It was really good. And I've talked about its disadvantages already, but it does have some advantages. I still think maybe that's the way to go. If you can get that system and you want to overcome the tube limitation of just 7, maybe 8 rounds of your tube-fed pump-action shotgun, explore that option. And then you have the best of both worlds. The advantage is, again, you have a very streamlined pump-action shotgun that will fit in a lot of different places, gun racks, closets, safes, not bulky. It's more simplicity, not a magazine to lose, or jam, or strip off rounds. Or, I forgot to mention this, the rounds will compress if you keep them stored. So even if you did put this in a home defense or marine defensive application, now you have your buckshot stored for like 2 years. Those plastic casings can compress and the whole shell gets deformed. That's another reason you don't see me running Segas in my defensive system. We've been out in the desert, we've had magazines loaded up just for like a week, and we get out there and it's just jam, 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 because the cases crush.
I got it.
Just a data point. And maybe the technology has changed and there's a hard shell plastic out there that's designed for magazine fed shotguns. I don't know. But yeah, maybe the adaptive is the way to go if you need that. But let's go back to my intro too, is that you don't need to upgrade. I would recommend you just practice. Again, I welcome this, and really this would be a different reviews if I didn't have any jams at all in the 590M. Then I would be kind of saying, hey man, if you really can accept the disadvantages of a bulky magazine to carry, which by the way should fit in LBE for a double 308 pouch. So if you have a double 308 pouch, this will fit in it. Still big, still bulky, still more complexity, and weight. Forgot to mention that. So let's say you do get a 590M in a perfect world, it's running 100%, and there might be some dudes that it did run 100% for, I don't know. But now what do? This magazine weighs, where's my scale? I didn't weigh it yet, but it ain't light. So let's say you want to rapidly load your shotguns, so you're going to have 4 of these. Well, let's see what it weighs just empty. Dude, that is, oh my gosh, that is like 20 ounces just for the magazine, empty. So now we'll just be kind and say it's 19 ounces per magazine unloaded. Remember what I always say about SAWC dudes, right? Yeah. I would say probably would not integrate this in a WRL situation. It's just on terms of SAWC. Now, if you're in a static location, like I mentioned, like, without rule of law, you're not traveling far distance, you're an officer, maybe. It would really be interesting to see if any police departments will ever adopt this gun. Let me give you a prediction into the future. The answer is no, they won't. They like simplicity. They like standardization. They like long-term reliability and simplicity. They're going to go with their 870s if they're running a shotgun at all. Some are just, running ARs or something like that. Or actually, I see a lot of police cruisers where they don't have a cruiser long arm at all in a rack anymore. Mainly because for liability, they've had, people break in trying to steal them and stuff. But back in the 70s and 80s, you never saw a police cruiser without an 870 in it or an Ithaca 37. That was ops normal, man. Kind of cool, actually. Dirty Harry days, yeah, you always had a shotgun there. That kind of changed with the Hollywood shootout, though, when they found out shotguns are not perfect for every situation. Not when they're going to the gun stores and asking for AR so they can fight back. Oh, yeah. So, competitive options to this. Well, just stick with what you got, maybe. If you got a 590, a 500, an 870, maybe you're lucky enough to have a Winchester 1300 or some other reliable, well-built, high-value, pump-action combat shotgun. Just stick with it. Or you can go with the magazine conversion. Another option is you don't use a pump-action shotgun at all. You go with the semi-auto. Like an FN SLP, a Jerry Mikulik, Mossberg 930. By the way, I love, love, love that gun. It's one of my top recommended high-value semi-automatic shotguns. Yeah, it's tube-fed as well. But you can get all sorts of loading things to speed up your load. Just watch the 3-gun guys in the shotgun stage. You'll see all the speed loaders, the 2-round loaders, the belt loaders come out, and there's a way they can get the gun up and running. Are those good for a self-defensive application? Probably not. It's more complexity, more dexterity you need, says me. I don't see a lot of people who use shotguns for like lethal purposes, military and law enforcement, using those devices. They go with what's simple, what works, and what's proven. And I've always said in my tabletop reviews that a very fast reload usually does not make or break a gunfight. Not usually. After the first couple shots, regroup, load when you can, and I'm talking in rule of law. That's just what I see, and I could be completely off on that. That being said, though, we are trained to constantly top off your tube-fed combat shotgun. And if you do that in practice, it'll work. That being said, maybe the next generation of magazine, of 590M, will be a little bit better, and maybe it's just me. Maybe that's just my data, and there was really no It was just a one-off. I don't know. Maybe other guys on their 590Ms are going, oh man, it's 100%, I have a problem. But when I ran it fast, I had problems. And that to me wasn't great. Knife on the table is the Cold Steel Ultimate Hunter in orange with a triad lock. Oh, so beautiful. Dudes, we haven't seen this forever. The Utility Tools A2. This is the 5-inch blade. Let me look exactly which one this is. No, 6-inch blade. This 15 ounces and 195 bucks. Black oxide coated. It is UTK 0151. Tested and proven in TMP. Love it. You've never seen this watch before. This is a Poseidon by Reactor. Discontinued. Tabletop review sometime. Since you can't buy it anymore. It's titanium too. It's got the small face syndrome going on with dive watches. I generally don't like it. Then I have a Sterling original pilot watch on here. Glock field knife. BTR 60 and 1/72 scale. SOG Elite Auto. What's the full name of this? SOG Spec Elite 2 automatic blade. Just some cool stuff. Gear channel, not really a gun channel. That's it, dudes. 590M reviewed in the Nut and Fancy project. I do get a lot of requests to review more shotguns, and I think when you guys say that, you're talking about this style of shotgun, combat shotguns. I don't think anyone in TMP is going to watch a hunting shotgun review, which I do think is sad. It shouldn't be that way, but it is. Anytime I've reviewed anything remotely hunting oriented, no one watches it. But if you want more shotgun reviews, I'm going to watch the view numbers on this. So if it gets a good engagement, like 50,000 views within 5 days, guess what? You'll get more freaking shotgun reviews. But if it flatlines, all bets are off, dudes. You may not see any more shotgun reviews for a long time. I'll just do other content. You always vote with a view. It's that way for every creator on YouTube. Always, always, always. So vote and watch the content you love, and guess what? You just might get more of it. Cool patches, stickers, hats, and other stupid stuff. Nothing fancy, big cartel. And you should be a TMP Patreon member, dude. That way you suck less. $1 to $5 a month. This video will definitely post first on TMP Patreon. Those guys are awesome over there. I really enjoy talking to them. I'm in comments all the time there. Nothing fancy.